Okay.
All right. Now, Mike, I don't want to sell people a false bill of goods. You said you're excited to start watching some football on Wednesday. We're not going to see anything approaching football until when?
Like probably early next week when
Okay.
they put pads on. But it's still good, Hardy. I mean, you still get out there. They might do some competitive stuff, but no like full pads, which is when the real football is.
Now, Belichick one time, and I'm not going to ask you to speak on Belichick because I'm not going to, or his relationship, which is very tawdry. But Belichick one time was such a dick to you that I wanted to fight him. The time where he's like, "Do you have that in your little thing?" Like when he was doing that whole thing. Is there a part of you? What are your feelings on dealing with Mayo, Gerard Mayo? Now, it's going to be so much different. Are you having like what is that syndrome?
Helsinki syndrome.
Helsinki syndrome right now, like where you almost missed your captor. What's going on?
Stockholm.
Stockholm. I think it might be
Syndrome.
Stockholm.
Well,
syndrome.
I think I made the mistake they made in Die Hard, but whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So are you going to miss the abuse? Like it's a totally different world for you covering the team.
So Fred, honestly, like that stuff with Belichick was never personal. So I never it never bothered me, and it was always cordial when the microphones weren't on. So, sometimes that what it looks like publicly isn't always what it is, personally.
But why? Why? Can I just ask you this? I don't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah.
there was one. I don't want to play it because whatever.
Yeah.
But there was one time where he was really a dick to you, like he was being like a total prick. Why? Do you have any idea like why? Because you didn't do anything wrong or ask anything controversial. Like, did he ever explain to you why he was acting like that?
No. No.
Yeah. So like behind the scenes, it's cordial, but there's like that's one thing, but like you can't. I mean, you're an adult, you're a professional, you're at the height of your profession. Like that. I don't know. It seems like that would. You're a bigger man than me because that would very much get to me, which is a compliment to you.
I appreciate it. But Fred, and now this is totally different. And it does remind me of actually when I started covering the Patriots, like my first year, 1997, when they went from Parcells to Pete Carroll. It's just so the culture, it's like a cultural shift here. And it's a lot different. And, ultimately it's going to come down to, winning games because that's what keeps a coach in his job. And so that's probably more where like my focus is. But I will say, like, there is a part of you that asks a question. And when you get an actual answer on something like injuries or contract stuff, when for years you had asked those questions and knew that you probably weren't getting an answer back from Bill Belichick, that's the part that's a little, that sort of hits you as a reporter as, incredibly different here.
All right, so Brandon Ayuk, it turns out that you tell me the Patriots made an offer. Tell me, you break it down for me. What is the Patriots' history with Ayuk, and you start with that.
Yeah, so my thing with this, it's hard for me as a reporter is obviously they're interested, and when the other team clearly doesn't intend to trade him, or I shouldn't say clearly, reportedly doesn't intend to trade him, like I always ask myself, how much time is this worth, discussing? Because I always look at it like you don't want to. People are listening. You don't want to give them hope that the Patriots are going to be able to acquire Brandon Ayuk when the team that has him has no incentive right now to trade him. This is their Super Bowl window, and they're a lesser team by trading him. So I sort of look at it that way, Fred. It's like, yeah, the Patriots can make an offer, but if the other team isn't willing to trade him, like, what are we doing here? Like, and so that's sort of my mindset on it. Now that can always change. And if that changes, maybe the discussion, we can shift it into a higher gear. But I think right now the 49ers are holding on to him. Let's see, he's going to report to camp. Let's see if he holds in. If they can't get a deal with him, maybe their position changes. And then to me, the conversation changes then.
I just saw something thrown out there by a football writer that maybe the 49ers would prefer to move on from Deebo Samuel than they would from Ayuk. If they did, do you think that the Patriots would be interested in Deebo Samuel, or is Ayuk like a special talent that he's special and that's why they're interested?
That's a good one, Fred. I think Part of that would be what's the price? So to me, like Ayuk, if they're going to trade him, it's got to be a first round pick coming back to him. And if you're the Patriots, there's no way you're dealing your 2025 first round pick, which, if we're being honest, guys, that could be a top pick.
Sure.
You know, like this is going to take a little time, in my view, for them to get this thing going. And so Samuel, if the price starts at a 2, well, now maybe that's a different conversation if you're the Patriots. And so, yeah, let's see what happens.
Mike, Elliott Wolf's in a tough spot. He said to you guys when he first took over that he wanted to weaponize the offense. He's tried. He talked to Calvin Ridley, got turned down. He's obviously approached San Francisco, got turned down. He's drafted a couple of wide receivers. He hasn't really weaponized the offense, but he's made an effort to.
Yeah, and I think so. Yeah, so John, where are we going with it? I mean, I think
what kind of grade would you give him? The effort has been there, but he's failed to do so.
So I think let's see what the Jalen Polk, the second round pick out of Washington, looks like. Offensive line, to me, like when you talk about weaponizing the offense, like if you can't protect or run the ball, none of that other stuff matters. So I guess I look at it this way, John, like you can't do everything in one off season. And if they show signs of like progress and that it's going in the right direction, that you can run the ball, build off of play action, Drake May makes progress, that Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator, is the right choice. Like, to me, that is weaponizing the offense. So I guess I'm not willing to say that it's a failure because he didn't get Calvin Ridley or he couldn't trade for a 49ers receiver. Like, I think he started the process. It's just hard to do it all in one off season.
Mike, when you get ready to watch these guys later this week, and you're watching them next week when they start playing like actual football and stuff, what do you think the competition is going to be like quarterback wise? What do you expect to see out there in terms of reps, first team, second team, stuff like that?
So Hardy, they're going to make Jacoby Brissett available to reporters tomorrow, which to me is like pair that with what we saw in the spring.
Yep.
They're telling us like he's our number one guy. So I would expect him to be the starter, getting the initial reps. And then I would expect it to be Drake May, based on what we saw at the end of the spring, getting a significant number of reps. And I will say this, guys, preseason football can be sort of a snooze fest for many. This year, I think it's a whole different deal for the Patriots with Drake, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'd expect him to get a lot in the actual games, which to me is sort of makes it a little more exciting than maybe it normally would be for many. So that's how I would say. And then I think Bailey Zappi after that, Hardy, and then Joe Milton, and seeing how that looks between Zappi and Milton for, the 3 spot.
I had someone tried to tell me over the weekend, watch out for Joe Milton. He's got a cannon. He's going to make a real run at making this team.
Uh-huh.
I mean, is there any chance?
So I think he can make the team as the number 3 guy. And I think with the practice squad rules now, even if you had move on from him or Bailey Zappi, like we saw last year, didn't they go down to 1 quarterback last year after the cut down, and then they brought Zappi back on the practice squad?
Yeah, but that's Belichick doing Belichick things. Most normal executives would not do that.
But I think, the idea that he might not make the team, but he's on the practice squad. But yeah, I could see Milton on as the number 3 guy. In fact, we do, all us reporters do projections, and I did put Milton on as the 3rd guy, as a developmental type.
Another story surrounding the Patriots, the status of Matthew Judon and Devon Godchaux. Are both of them going to be on the field on Wednesday? And should we be worried that their contracts are the way they are?
I think it's good, John. I think let's start with Judon. My understanding is like the sides are talking. So it's not like a situation where like the team is saying, no, this is what it is. You either show up or else. I think I'm told they've discussed like different scenarios as to how to resolve it. Obviously they haven't resolved it yet, but the fact usually in my experience, when sides are talking, that usually means like there's a better chance that you can get a resolution. On the Godchaux one, I don't have as much intel on that one, so I don't know. I would expect both players are going to show up. because if you don't show up, you get fined. They're not going to want to lose money. The question would be, do they practice? Right? Like that's the new thing now, guys.
Yeah.
You don't hold out, you hold in.
Yeah, you show up, but you don't do anything.
Stephon Gilmore, perfect
Exactly.
example.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, John, you mentioned like Elliott Wolf and being in a tough spot. I think that's the other part of this is like their intentions have been true in terms of wanting to extend players, draft, develop. What we've seen, in my view, is like when you do that, other players on the roster say, wait, whoa, this guy's getting this getting this. And then they're sort of like, well, what about me? Right. And the Judon one's interesting to me in that I think when they redid his contract last year, it was sort of understood, like, we're going to come back to the table for your final year. But then he got hurt. Right. And so that adds a wrinkle that you weren't expecting. And then with Godchow, I'm not sure if he would be having the stance he's having now if they didn't extend Barmore a year early. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. And so those are, to me, those are the challenges if you're Elliott Wolf, how one contract always has, not always, but can have a trickle-down effect on how others view their own situation.
All right. Well, Mike Reiss, have fun on Wednesday. We look forward to talking to you over the course of the season. Everyone loves Mike Reiss. Thanks so much for the time.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.